The studio lights burned bright, reflecting off the polished stage floor as millions tuned in to watch what was expected to be a calm, policy-centered debate. No one in neither the audience nor the network producers had any idea that tonight's discussion would spiral into one of the most shocking moments in television history. Senator John Kennedy sat calmly at the edge of the table, his pen tapping softly, his eyes fixed on Chelsea Clinton. She smiled for the cameras, poised, confident, and entirely unaware of the storm about to break. It began innocently enough. The moderator asked a simple question about non-profit transparency, a topic that Chelsea, as the vice chair of the Clinton Foundation, had spoken about countless times before. She adjusted her microphone, smiled, and launched into a polished answer about accountability, integrity, and global service. Her tone was confident, rehearsed, almost mechanical. But Kennedy didn't interrupt. He just waited, listening intently, a small, knowing smile creeping across his face. When she finished, the moderator turned to Kennedy. "Senator, your response?" Kennedy leaned forward, his southern drawl slow but cutting. "Well, ma'am," he began, "I appreciate Miss Clinton's commitment to transparency. But transparency means showing the whole picture, not just the frame you like to hang on your wall." The room grew quieter. Cameras zoomed in. Kennedy reached into his folder and pulled out a stack of documents, printed, highlighted, tabbed. "Because according to financial records filed last quarter," he continued, "there's about $82 million that's, well, hard to find. Money that was supposed to go to humanitarian aid but somehow got tangled up in luxury investments, shell companies, and consultants with no clear address." Chelsea blinked. "That's not accurate," she said quickly, forcing a laugh. "Senator, I think you're misinformed. The Clinton Foundation's finances are audited regularly." Kennedy interrupted gently but firmly. "I'm not talking about the Foundation's general fund, Miss Clinton. I'm talking about the side account linked to Horizon Global Initiatives, where you personally authorized several transfers." The audience gasped. The moderator's eyes darted toward the producers behind the glass wall. Chelsea's calm expression faltered. Her throat tightened. Kennedy continued, his tone even but unrelenting. "Now, maybe there's an explanation. Maybe there's a good reason $82 million meant for clean water projects in Africa ended up funding luxury eco-resorts in the Caribbean. But if there is, I think the American people deserve to hear right from you." For a moment, time seemed to freeze. Chelsea stared at him, her hands clasped together on the desk, knuckles whitening. The lights above buzzed faintly. Every camera lens in the room was fixed on her face. Finally, she spoke quietly, almost pleadingly. "Senator Kennedy, with all due respect, you're twisting facts to paint a picture that isn't true. Those investments were part of an environmental partnership." Kennedy leaned in slightly. "Then why," he said softly, "did the returns from that partnership go directly to your personal trust account?" The air was electric. The moderator opened his mouth, but no words came out. Kennedy had just detonated the bombshell live on national television. Chelsea's legacy, the name she had worked so hard to separate from the controversies of her prince, was now hanging by a thread. Chelsea's voice cracked. "Yeah, I don't handle all the financial specifics. There are team set advisors." Kennedy nodded politely. "Of course, but your signatures on every single authorization document, I've got them right here." He lifted the papers slightly, then set them down, the sound echoing like a gavel hitting a desk. "It's not about who your parents are, Miss Clinton. It's about integrity. If we're going to talk about leadership, we'd better start by leading with honesty." The silence was deafening. Chelsea looked down at her hands. The camera zoomed in, catching the tears she fought to hide. For years, she had tried to escape the shadow of scandal that followed her family. She had worked hard, believing she could carve her own legacy through humanitarian work. But now, in front of millions, it was all unraveling. The moderator finally spoke. "We need to move on to the next topic," he stammered, clearly shaken. But the audience didn't move. They were still frozen in disbelief. Kennedy didn't gloat. He didn't smile. He simply leaned back in his chair, calm and composed. He hadn't done it for drama or applause. He had done it because, as he would later say in an interview, truth isn't convenient, but it's necessary. After the broadcast, the story exploded across every news channel. #Clinton scandal trended worldwide. Financial watchdogs opened immediate investigations. Within weeks, federal auditors confirmed Kennedy's findings. The environmental partnership had funneled millions into shell companies with no real operations. Chelsea's name, once synonymous with the idea of a new generation of leadership, was now tied to words like fraud and deception. Reporters chased her everywhere. Former allies distanced themselves. Board members resigned. And for the first time in her public life, Chelsea Clinton disappeared from the spotlight. But John Kennedy didn't celebrate. In a later interview, when asked why he'd chosen to expose her so publicly, his answer surprised everyone. "I didn't expose her," he said quietly. "I exposed the truth, because the truth deserves daylight, even when it burns." Months later, Chelsea resurfaced it, not on a talk show, not in a speech, but at the small community center in upstate New York. She volunteered quietly, without cameras, helping with food drives and education programs. When a local reporter asked her why she was there, she answered softly, "Because when you lose everything, you finally learn what really matters." The scandal had destroyed her public image, but it also stripped away the illusion. For the first time, she wasn't trying to live up to her name. She was just trying to do good quietly, genuinely. And for Kennedy, the moment became more than a viral clip. It became a symbol of courage in a world too often blinded by power and legacy. His words echoed across the nation, reminding people of something simple but profound: the truth might break your heart, but it will never betray you. That night on live television, John Kennedy didn't just expose a scandal. He exposed something far deeper: the cost of deceit, the fragility of reputation, and the power of truth to both destroy and rebuild. And in that silence, as the room fell still, the world was reminded that even the mightiest legacies can crumble when built on anything less than honesty.